Hey, so today I want to tell a story, a really tragic story happened about 2 years ago, and like I said, really crazy story, but it actually changed my business for the better. And so I kind of want to just go through that, tell the whole story, and then also at the end of it, give you some tips on some good business principles that I learned kind of through a tough, difficult situation. So this was about February of 2021. I was doing some painting for this big, huge house. It was like a $6,000 paint job. It was a living room, kitchen, couple bedrooms. Pretty big areas. Definitely was underbid, but definitely, like I said, I was learning back then. So, anyways, yeah. So my worst fear has always been just like for whatever reason, always in the back of my head. What if somebody passes away while I'm working at their house? Well, unfortunately, this actually happened. So it was the craziest thing. Like it was nuts. So this guy was older retired guy. He was in his office and he would work in there during the day or whatever, watch the news, and we were out painting just outside, and we said goodbye to him. We're heading to lunch, like we'll be back in half an hour or whatever. um we said that about 10 minutes before we left, get back from lunch, and he's just sitting there, and we were like, didn't think anything of it, and we had to ask him to move something. He didn't answer us. So thankfully, his wife was a nurse, and she had stayed home from work that morning. So she was upstairs working in her craft room or whatever. So we ran, got her. She came down, and yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna give every detail, obviously, but long story short, the guy ended up having a heart attack, and he actually passed away from it. And it was a really crazy situation. Like I said, I'm not gonna give a ton of details on it. But anyways, it was crazy. Worst fear happened, and I hope it never happens again. I hope it never happens to any of you guys. It was pretty terrible, but like I said, something good came out of it as far as a good business principle that I learned, and moving forward, I have stuck with it ever since. So the terrible part, besides the guy passing on the business end, was the so we never actually collected we never collected a down payment to start the job. So we're out, I think we were out about $1,000 in materials, close to it. It was a lot of paint. And like I said, it was underbid. So we were out about $1,000 in materials, and we had been talking with her husband the entire time. So he was the one in charge of like all the details, all the finances, all that stuff. And so, anyways, that day we had to leave, and the job was obviously on postpone. So she called us back about 2 weeks later to finish up because we were almost done. We had about 2 days left. So she calls us back, which was super hard for everyone. And we get back there and we finish the job, and she could not find the money. So he had set the money aside for us, all ready to go, but she could not find the money where he put it, had no idea. Took her about 2 weeks to find the money. So here we are out all these materials. We ended up losing a ton of different brushes and rollers during this whole ordeal because we had to leave the house. So they all dried out. We lost, I think, about 6-7 brushes, if I remember, and like 4 rollers because we had 3 or 4 guys working on that job. I can't remember. And so we had a lot of different stuff out, a lot of different colors. We were just going brush to brush, room to room, whatever. Anyways, we lost all that equipment, and then she couldn't find the money. So we're out all these materials, all this, and then she can't find the money. And on top of that, she's obviously emotional about the whole situation. So from that day forward, what I'm getting at is I learned a valuable lesson. Always collect a down payment. And so moving forward, we've always collected a 30% down payment before we start the job, with the rest being due upon job completion. And this has helped in a lot of different situations besides even just this situation. A lot of our bigger jobs, like our big paint jobs, they'll be like $12,000 roughly for an exterior paint job. And I would just ask for materials up front. So paint jobs usually like 80% labor, 20% materials, roughly around there. Sometimes it's more labor than materials, like a higher percentage. And so normally I'd just be like, just materials is fine, and we move on and say final payment at the end, right? That's how I used to do it, because I hate taking money up front, but I've grown. You have to do it. Plus, it keeps cash flow in the business. You got those long jobs. You're not getting paid. It just keeps things running smoothly. But I would run into an issue where people would try to get out of paying me at the end. And I was like, why? Like, they said they loved it, all this thing. And I would have to hunt them for like 2 months to get my money. Like, it was ridiculous. They said it was great. There was no problems, all this stuff. And what I think what the issue was, or sometimes they would then, it would say it's great, everything's fine. They wouldn't pay us for like a month. I'd say, hey, like reaching back out. And they'd be like, well, there's all this stuff that's wrong. And we'd get there and they'd have this list. And it was like the teeniest, tiniest little specks. Like if you shined a light right here on the 3rd day of the month, at between 6 and 6:30, you might see a little like speck missing here, that type of crap. Like just knickknacks. And what I realized is it's all psychological. So if people, I started changing this, and I realized if people write a bigger check to start and then another decent sized check to end, instead of like a little tiny bit to start and then a huge check at the end, like it'd be like we'd get like on a $12,000 paint job, we get maybe like $1,500, $2,000 up front. Then they're gonna write a $10,000 check at the end. That sits hard with a lot of people. It's just like a big mental thing, and so that kind of helped get over that as well. But yeah, collect those down payments, guys. Don't feel bad about collecting payments. Don't feel weird about holding the money. Obviously, don't spend the money, right? Like, have that money in an account for whatever reason. If they cancel, they need a refund, whatever, things fall through, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, always collect that down payment. And because of this day, I learned a valuable business lesson. Had my worst fear happen while I was working. And yeah, it was just crazy. Let me know if you guys had any crazy instances like this. It's definitely been my craziest story by far. And like I said, I can't really give full details on it. It had some other things that made it even worse by far. And like I said, I'm just not going to get into it. So yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.